today's episode of PJ and the Beard, we're going to do an episode we like to call Just Gear Talk. And with that, we've brought in our good friend Estee and some of his gear to talk about it. Kind of our version, I'm going to say it, of a little bit of a rig rundown. Like, we've known Estee for a while, and he's always got interesting things. And so we drove him over here to the Beard Cave, blindfolded him so he doesn't know how to get here, unblindfolded him and just dropped him in that chair.
Well, we had him looking at the Tagima guitar.
Yes.
So taking advantage of the situation, let's run through the pedal.
So if you go back to the Tagima episode, we're all wearing the same clothes.
Yep.
Just saying.
Same thing.
They do have a Family Feud, you know, by the way. They shoot like 4 episodes, 5 back to back.
Oh, I'm sure.
That's trivia that you get. That's free. You have to subscribe to get the rest.
All right.
So
while we were doing the Tagima, you were running through doing a bunch of different things. We were like kind of focusing on praise and worship sounds there, and your board, I guess, is pretty put together for that.
I guess, yeah.
Right?
Sure.
And everything else that you do as well. So we thought it'd be cool to take a minute so people could see how you were getting those sounds in that episode. So I've watched enough rig rundowns of my time to say, why don't you run us through your single chain?
Okay, well, I mean, the chain is pretty simple. It's a pretty small board. From the guitar, I come in, I go through the Deep 6 compressor. Then after the comp, I actually go to the tuner after the compressor. That's just, it's mini, so that's how it works. So it goes Deep 6, tuner, then we go to the King of Tone. That's my overdrive. After the drive, volume pedal, and then the L cap is just my delay. That little white thingy that has a big knob on it, that is for controlling repeats of the delay. And then after the L cap, I go into the Nudiver stereo wet, and then out back to the amp. And then this little gold thing is a fave switch for the stereo wet. Yeah, that's it. Tobacco tin holds my picks. Not tobacco.
That's right. No Altoids. Altoids are so 2011.
So the gold thing is a favorite switch.
Fave switch, yeah. For the reverb.
Why does it have knobs on it?
Because that's how
But
you
show
like...
my ignorance of
So,
the fave switch
why has it got
for
knobs
the...
on it?
Why do you...
actually, we could just...
You mash the
Let's start
button and
backwards.
twist
We'll start with the verb. Talk about that. So the phase switch, you set it to be what you want. So like right now, it's controlling. This is like if you were looking at the phase switch and you looked at the wet, like this is the same as the depth, and that's the same as the mix on the wet.
Okay.
So that's the save setting.
So you're not saving it in the wet and then going back and forth between like 2 channels. You're actually saving the settings over here.
Yeah, it's literally saved on the phase switch.
Okay.
So it's
I'm not
going to
point out that the wet has 3 knobs on it and the phase switch has 2.
Well, the tone just stays the same. Like, that's just how it is. Sorry. I guess.
Point that out. I might get ripped for this on the board, right?
We really enjoyed Estee's one and only trip here to the show. You gotta be nicer to the guests, Jason.
But, yeah, so like for the verb, this is essentially with the verb. I'm just going to play. You hear the trail of the verb, right? If I turn up this knob right here, it'll turn up the depth, so it'll be a lot longer, actually. That was actually the mix. It's reversed. All right, I just turned up the mix. I always forget. So that turned up the mix, so now the verb is much louder, as you can probably tell from the last thing. And this will be the depth, which you can't even tell because. But if I do this, you. So it can just go on essentially for forever. So the max of that phase switch is the max of the verb that I have on the pedal. So it can never go above what I have on the stereo wet itself. Does that make sense? So I do that because in some settings, like sometimes I'll be playing something that doesn't need a lot of verb.
Finish talking before
right.
you play.
Sometimes I'll be doing something that doesn't need a lot of verb. So with my foot, I'll just turn it down to whatever I want it to be at with the mix. And then when I need a lot of verb, I just kick it back up. You know what I mean? So that helps with like the ambient worshipy stuff that I do sometimes. Yeah, and that's that. And then when I want to get a swell tone, I just turn it off and I do a swell because the stereo wet is set up for the max reverb that I want to have with it.
So when we were doing the Tagima, I was supposed to say Tagima, the Tagima episode, I noticed when you went to like more single note solo kind of stuff, that's when you kicked on your favorite
Yep.
switch. So that actually took the verb down.
Yep.
And then back to swells, kick that off.
Kick it
go
off.
back.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that was confusing when I first got it. I had to figure that out. It was weird. But
And who makes this?
dude, I just bought it off of some dude on one of the Gear Talk things,
There you
classifieds.
go.
He just had it, so I bought it from him.
Did you get it in a seedy parking lot under rain where you bought a few pedals?
If you didn't buy it at the Rudders parking lot, it's not,
Then it wasn't
it's not a
legit.
real deal.
Yes,
We
it
keep
wasn't
saying
legit.
though, there's not a Facebook yard sale killer. So as long as we don't buy it, off of that other thing that there was the killer on, you know what I mean? Help me out.
Craigslist?
Yes, that's it.
I'm
You
not-
watch Lifetime too.
I was
Admit it.
confused. I guess I do.
Craigslist has taken me into some kind of seedy situations.
I want to talk to my studio audience for a minute. Remember how I said we don't edit things out?
Yes.
Don't look for any of that to be included in what we're going to do. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, it will be. All right, so we got the reverb, right?
That's the verb.
Staying on target here.
That's probably the most complicated thing I have, to be honest. Some people like who do P&W stuff have, a big sky and a timeline and stuff.
Which you have had in the past,
I
right?
have
Yeah.
had. I sold all of it. Now I have this.
So one thing I'm noticing here, correct me if I'm wrong. So we have King of Tone. That's where your drive is coming from.
Yep.
Stayed on the low gain setting before.
Yeah.
I'm sure you go to the red.
Sometimes, yeah.
But with your volume pedal after the King of Tone, so this gives you control volume with drive with a volume pedal afterwards, so you can bring your volume back but keep the drive up, or
Yeah, if I wanted to.
use your volume knob
Yeah,
pre King of Tone to clean it up a little bit.
yeah.
And
So
you were talking about how you do that, right?
yeah, I do that a ton. Like, honestly, when it comes to like praise and worship stuff, it's rare that I kick on the red side, just because.
You gotta go after it a little bit more. Gotta get it.
Sometimes I'll hit it on and like when I want to go hard, but usually I just keep the yellow side on and I just rock my like guitar's volume knob. So when I want to clean it up, I'll just bring it down a little bit. When I want to dirty it, I'll just like roll it up to 10. And yeah, it's just easier for me, and I feel like I can engage more with what I'm playing, the band, and like even the audience members. So that way
So
I'm not tap
normally
dancing all the
volume
time.
pedal all the way up unless you're doing swells?
Yeah, unless I'm doing swells, it's usually all the way up.
And then
Yeah.
you're riding the volume knob.
I'm riding the volume knob, yeah. But yeah, so that like I'm gonna play a little bit, so I'm gonna stop talking.
There you go.
So this is 10. This is the yellow side of the KOT with my volume on 10. Yeah. Yeah, that's 10, so that's max. And if I turn it down, it's just a lot cleaner. Like,
So
yeah,
it's not
that's
really a volume knob as much as it is a tone knob.
it's more like, yeah, exactly.
It's your first gain stage, your second gain stage,
Yep.
and your third gain
And then
stage.
I
Is that your
guess
transparent overdrive? Is your
Because you used to do that. You used to have 3, 4 different
yeah, I used
drive
to have a
pedals.
bunch. I used to have like probably 4. I probably had 4 at one point, but this is just easier, and I don't know. I'm only 22, but as I get older, I just like things that are easier. So yeah, so it's just easy for me. It helps me engage. I feel more with the people around me, which is kind of why we do this, to be honest. So like, but yeah, and then I guess I'll just play with the red side on.
just to appease them.
Just
Yeah,
to appease
let's-
whoever wants it. This is yellow. And this is with the red side. I like that sound a lot. But anyway, that's with the red side on. And sometimes if I want something in between that, I'll turn the yellow side off and just use the red side because it's not as gainy when they're not stacked. So yeah, that's that.
I know. When I used to, it's kind of the opposite. When I use the King of Stone,
Oh.
I think I'm normally on the red side
Oh.
volume knob, and then if I
you
want
kick
more,
on
I'll
the-
kick the yellow
Yeah.
side on with it. But
Yeah,
I don't have one yet.
one day.
he's not even on the waiting list.
I've got to do something about that.
But yeah, I mean that's that. Also, I actually have another stage of gain because I was Strat. I'm using a Strat, has a bunch of pickup whatever selector things. So I was just using this position, and if I want even more like drive, I flip it to the neck, and that's when it's kind of even crazier. So this is 2 and 4. Wait, sorry, neck and middle again, both sides on of the KOT. And this is the neck. So yeah, it's just more bite and growl for when I really want to go at it.
So tell us about the guitar real quick, because it is part of the whole...
The guitar! Yeah, this is my, I'm going to get it wrong. It's a 1997, like, deluxe Players Strat? Something like that. It's basically a bass, it's just a Strat, like any other Strat. But it does have this little button thingy, which engages the bridge pickup when you're in the neck or the neck middle, which makes it kind of sound like a telly. So it's useful sometimes, but I don't use it often. Anyway, yeah, what did we do? We kind of skipped the delay, I think.
We skipped
whoops. So delay, I keep it usually on. With my foot, I'll roll the mix up and down. So if I want to get just like a basic delay, like something like this, where you can kind of hear it. I don't know if they'll be able to hear it in the vid. Keep it like that. But if I want to do like the dotted A stuff, I roll it up and I tap into tempo, and I do it. Yeah, that's that. And then also I have that little thing controlling the repeats, but I honestly rarely ever change it.
But again, that would be more for the swells, because if
yeah,
you turn it,
it
just maxes out.
Yeah,
though.
It could max out, yeah. But I find right now, like, my reverb tone is good enough for swells by itself. So maybe I'll turn the mix up of the delay to get, like, just, some more ambiance in the swell. But really right now, when I just turn off the phase switch and use the Nunaber, it's usually enough. So
compressor always on.
Compressor, yeah. I have a love-hate relationship with compressors.
We love to not use them.
Yes, that's fair.
And I feel like I should. Like I'm breaking.
I feel like I'm being judged all the time.
I feel like I'm breaking one of the basic rules of tone, but I just can't. I can never find one.
My compressor's right there.
Yeah, it's on the shelf.
The tone press. Yeah.
Like I have a Dynacomp, and I don't know. I just can't.
For me, since I'm doing a lot of the volume knob roll off with my guitar, I want the input going into the overdrive to be pretty level. That's just how I want it. So that way when I roll this from like 10 to 8, 7, it's not like a giant drop in volume. It's still a drop in volume, but it's not like ridiculous because of the compressor. But I also set the compressor to a way that you can like barely tell it's on, just because I don't like the sound of squashed guitar.
Right.
So
I think I can tell that you use it.
Yeah.
In the way you play, in the style you're playing, in the way it kind of keeps your notes all kind of in that same place.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I can tell that, being somebody that doesn't use one, and at times probably should. But
it's what works for you, man.
Right? Oh yeah. I mean, but times probably should, but just can't get there.
Actually, let's just do some on and off with the compressor. That might be helpful. Maybe let's just take everything off. So this is like straight clean. I think there's some verb on the amp. Yeah. That's with the compressor, I should say. Yeah, now I'm going to turn it off. I don't want to hit the camera. So this is off. This is without the compressor.
That's a big difference to me.
Yeah.
It
does
is,
sound
but
different.
I like them both. But the second feels more like home, a little bit of the darkness and the blending of the strings, not so uniform. But but the compressor sounded good too. Like you heard all of the notes.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like
it just depends on like what you want to do with it. To be honest.
Yeah, because I mean, typically, I don't hear I guess I never paid enough attention to a compressor to really hear it, care about it, think about it.
Yeah.
But then when you do those two things right there, I mean, it's jumping out at me. Like, I can hear it. Okay. But what I thought I was hearing in your playing that was the compressor was like, yes, that was, I'd say it's a big part of your tone. Like,
yeah.
I mean, the way you approach the guitar, the way you play, which is really cool.
I think, like...
it's really cool. That's the way it works. So
I think, to be honest, like, if I didn't have the compressor when I was playing, if I took it off, I would play differently. Like, I'd be inspired in a different way. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just because the compressor grabs and holds things differently than just my guitar would. You know what I mean? Sometimes there's sustain that I want in a note that if I didn't have the compressor, I probably wouldn't even try to go for that because it wouldn't sustain in the same way. Anyway, so... Yeah, I like having it sometimes. Other times I hate it. So sometimes when I'm playing, I just turn it off because I'm not feeling it for the day.
Well, not to belabor the point, but I'm going to belabor the point. You talked about playing different genres. You're in a rock band. You're in a jazz band. You do worship. Do you find you turn it off for more than for one of those? Or is it just kind of how you feel in that moment?
Usually just how I'm feeling it, yeah. Sometimes I'll really, sometimes I'll be feeling it and I'll leave it on. Other times I'm just like, I don't want a compressor today, so I'll turn it off or I'll take it off the board and put a tube screamer instead. Like, it really just depends. Like, but yeah, I find a lot of the P&W people have the compressor on and they use it to squash way more than I do. Mm-hmm. Like, they'll have the attack higher. They'll have it more sustaining. They'll have it so the effect is, like, heard even more than I do. Which, hey, to each their own, I guess. Mm-hmm. So
we don't have your amp here.
Yeah.
What do you normally play through?
I have two. Well, I had 3 amps, but I just sold one today. I have a 74 Princeton amp. It's a non-reverb version. It's nice. Got it off of reverb. Those things just sound ridiculous. And then I have a Blues Junior that I play. Mm-hmm. Whenever I don't want to take my nice amp, I'll just take that because it was $300.
Right.
Yeah. So those are my amps. I have another guitar. This is my main Strat. I haven't named her yet, but I will. And then my other guitar it's another Strat, but it's humbucker, single humbucker, made in, I think, China. It's like a made in China Strat that I got. Sounds pretty nice. Yeah.
I feel like I've seen that.
It's like black, see-through black. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Her name's
now,
Ethel.
so you're not a shredder, you're not a finger tapper. So talk to me about this.
So that actually is for when I want to do that.
Okay, because you can get to that.
Yeah.
Plus, if you want to name it a girl's name, you've already got a hair part.
That's
so
true.
Good. Yeah.
Perfect. But yeah, this is just for sometimes if I'm doing a crazy guitar solo for whatever purpose, and I don't want it to ring out and stuff, I'll just throw it on and
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what that's for.
Note to self, put one on yours. Yeah. Accessorize. It's a cheap accessory.
You have probably more of a chance getting the compressor back on the board than the
on your neck of your guitar. I'm trying. Maybe just put one around your beard, just kind of
maybe
a beardy tail.
It's gonna lay it on the strings.
Yeah, that can work, I guess.
Yeah. So I don't know. So this is way off topic, but so most of the time you're playing. You have all this stuff. You've chased tone, even at 22. You've done an excellent job of chasing it to this point.
I've done it for,
You find yourself in-ears a lot, wedges, both. What's your preference? That's kind of it's an honest question. You play with mild amps, right? You're not playing with a Helix or a Kemper.
Nah.
You love tube amps. You've chased tone. Well, you probably had a lot of scenarios where you've had to wear in-ears. What's your preferred monitoring system?
My preferred monitoring system is probably not to have one. I'm the churches and the gigs I play at, we're not in very big quarters, you know what I mean? So usually if someone has a monitor sitting right there, right off to the side, I can hear it. Yep. And if I have my amp right at my feet, I can hear that. Mm-hmm. And that's good enough for me. But when we do use in-ears, anywhere I go, I'm cool with that too. Monitors for me, I'm not picky about. Yeah. That's just I don't know, that's just how I am. But I really, really love having the amp at my feet. That way I can feel it, I can hear it. So that's
I feel like we had nothing to do with it. We're talking to a convert now. We rode up on 2 bicycles and we talked him into it, and he's in the group now. Like, I'm the same way. I don't really want a monitor. If there's a wedge close enough to me that I can hear,
works.
or I'm close enough where we play at church, we have liner bays up top.
The mains are right in front
I'm
of you.
close enough that I can hear it, and occasionally I might do a little lip reading, but I'm hearing the drummer. I know where we are on the song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of like that open air natural.
Yeah,
I got enough natural ringing in my ears at this age that I like the ambient sound of the room. So
I mean, and when you think about it, like I don't know if the whole like let's move to in-ears and take all the amps off stage. To me, that feels like a pretty new phenomenon. Like I don't know. Like I'm only 22, so but like growing up in my church or going to shows like when I was a kid, like all that stuff, seeing people play live, it's like all of the really good people, famous guitar players, like they're playing with their amps like beside them, and like Stevie Ray Vaughan, amp at 10, 2 tube screamers, and that's what he was doing. Like, and those are the legends, you know what I mean? Like, so
I
have a feeling that we're gonna get more comments on this video.
True. Controversial.
Hey, this guy who's only 22, he said it, not me. I didn't talk him into it.
Also, like,
Kill him.
We really don't like.
I've got kids. Kill him.
Well, okay, I didn't say that.
No, don't go down that rabbit hole. Don't even say it.
Like,
don't even say it.
When I ran sound at the college I went to, Messiah, for 4 years, right? Or I guess it was 3.5 technically, but like
this guy's super humble. He'll play a show and then tear his gear down and the sound system, so he gets it.
That has happened.
He's humble.
Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
But like in settings like that where bands will just roll in, plug all their stuff up, live amps or not. In some cases, some of them use Kempers and Helixes and stuff. Like, honestly, it was, for me at least, like the bands that just came in rolling their stuff and just played, like, if they were keeping it at a good volume and like they were jamming with each other, like, to me there was no difference in my own sound control than if someone came with a Kemper. Like, because I think that like whatever the band wants to do, the band should like do, like, because it's their gig. Like, I'm there to support them in any way I can, and maybe like if someone rolls into like the small like club we have at the Union with like
412.
Yeah, with the 412, maybe I'll be like, hey, can you turn that down? Or like the drummers who are just banging on their cymbals, I'll be like, hey, your cymbals are a little too much, like, can you tone it down? But like ultimately it is kind of their show. And also ultimately, like, we're running the dB louder sometimes than what the amps are on stage, which is another thing. Like, that's probably another conversation, but anyway.
Yeah, it's a really dangerous rabbit hole
It
that
is,
you're going
yeah.
down.
Although, not that I need to defend
You're
him.
away.
I don't need to defend him, but he's been on both sides of the equation. And so, if anything, it's
true.
a little bit of a testament to when you're back at the board, there's a give and take, right? All right, I'm going to put up with that amp a little bit. I can push it up to where it blends everything out. He's not driving me out of the room. I don't have to get it to 0, but I can work with that. Like, and other times, like you said, hey, could you turn that down a little bit? I don't have enough control. I'm the nth degree of control. I just don't have enough control, and it's bleeding into other mics or whatever.
And then from the player's point of view, I mean, if you're asking somebody to play in a situation they're not familiar with or not comfortable with, so you can control the sound, what are you doing to the show or the service or whatever the situation is? What are you doing to that? Because, if you take somebody who's used to playing with the live amp on stage and have them put their amp in the back room in an ISO box, the way your guitar reacts to the amp is totally different. And so, the big conversation is always, well, what you hear out front, you can't tell the difference between a Helix or a Kemper out front and a live tube amp. Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the way my guitar reacts in my hands to that live amp on stage, live amp off stage, Helix, whatever, is different. So I guess where I'm going with that is just, that's nice of you as a sound man to say, run it the way that you're comfortable with, so I can support that and you can have your best. Because I'll tell you what, if you don't enjoy what's coming out of your guitar,
it ain't working. It ain't gonna work.
Well,
like,
you might as well just go home.
Yeah,
it
is what it is.
We're really deep into it now, right? Because
I guess.
But I'm talking about that brings out inspiration, right? Like if my tone is off, I don't care if I'm trying to worship or not. Like, it's not really about me, but if my tone is off, I'm not playing well, and I'm distracted.
Yeah, that's fair.
Really distracted. Instead of inspired, I'm distracted.
We're trying to figure out how to get it.
Right. So it's really distracting to me. So to have it be important to you how your instrument sounds, and when you're chasing tone and you're spending all this time with this craft, you should be able to hear what inspires you. Like, and I want that interaction with my guitar because I think because we've all done this, right? We can hear a Helix and we can hear a Kemper, and maybe we'll like it, right? But if we're not inspired, regardless of what you're using, you're not going to play well. And I find in a live setting, for me personally, an amp and pedals and stuff is more inspiring to me.
That works for me too. I know. So, I know some guys who like the Helix and the Kemper, all those profiling stuff, like they love. You know what I mean? And they'll stick with that, and that's what inspires them. And for me, it's like, as a guitar player, as a sound guy, I'm like, whatever you want to do to like inspire yourself. Yeah. I think that's what you should do. That's.
I think you summed it up better than I did because we've said all the time on this show, or a little rinky-dink show of ours, that it's not about right or wrong. It's about what works for us, and we try not to be critical of people who might want to do something different. But we got three people pretty like-minded about live amps, so it's got a little one-sided.
Which is actually kind of weird because I would not have maybe guessed that.
Yeah.
I would not have maybe guessed that would have been... Well, and last time I saw you, it was four overtime
It was
pedals.
different.
Right.
Yeah, it was
First game,
different.
second game. Were you doing the volume knob thing then? Or
Nah,
is that kind of more recent?
This is like probably past year or 2 years. Probably past year, actually.
Right.
I think about it. But yeah, that all came about my last year of college. Because Derek... shout out to Derek.
Yeah.
I wish we had like a thing to...
He's in charge now. Yeah, the
Yeah,
horn like on the
he's-
metal
yeah,
shop.
horn,
He's
yeah.
the man now, Derek. Yeah.
Derek at Messiah College, like, he kind of really inspired me to, like... He plays guitar. He was in like a bunch of bands when he was a kid, like blues rock bands and stuff like that. He inspired me to do a simpler setup to rock my volume knob. And like when I started doing that, I did it for my last tour with Messiah College 7. Like it just felt more like I just felt connected to this and to my amp and like to my guitar in a way that made me feel like I actually could play or like I was actually playing well. You know what I mean? Because everything was more interactive, and so I just felt like I was playing better. And yeah, so shout out to him for that.
I guess to wrap up, where we would be. And this might have a weird transition in there, and we're not going to tell you why. So to wrap up would be to get you to maybe, with the camera on here for the pedal board, maybe have you play through a little bit, just like you would. So we'll get Pat to lay down some kind of track, some kind of rhythm thing you can play over and let you kind of do your thing with your pedal board. Because I found it really interesting when we were doing the Tagima episode to just kind of watch you work that. Like you move some of the things with your foot and all that wonderful stuff.
Cool.
Tuner. Who makes the tuner?
Yeah. I think that's actually by Pedal Train.
It is. Okay,
It's like their mini space-saving tuner or whatever.
So you said you go from the compressor to the tuner.
Yeah.
The tuber.
Word.
Man. So do you actually run a cable into that and a cable out of that? Is it underneath or something?
It's underneath the board.
Gotcha.
Maybe next time we'll flip it. Or maybe we can just take a picture of it afterwards.
We could.
That's a good idea.
Like, that could work.
The underneath, because then the power and all that.
Yeah, there's power.
Strymon power.
Oh, yeah. I have an Ojai. Strymon Ojai, little tiny thing.
I just saw
Fits
the
right under it.
blue
Oh, yeah, it's right there. Yeah, it's a Metro 16, so, like, it's pretty small. I think it's, like, 16 by 9? Something like that.
And did you mention the tobacco tin?
Yeah.
Did we
He
mention
did, and he
that?
made a disclaimer that he's not a tobacco user.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't worry,
Which
Mom.
I'm not.
He's
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
He's only 22. Give him time. All right.
Street cred. So we're to the play?
Yeah. Well, I think we're wrapping it up, and then we'll let you guys play out, and so he can run through some stuff. So definitely more stuff coming. Hopefully, Estee will be back sometime, and with that, it's like subscribe. Hit the like button.
Smash the bell.
Yeah, like smash. No, leave some comments. You know, we have purposely said things to offend you. But you can leave
We just want to
comments.
start a conversation.
Yeah.
Talk to us.
I like talking.
Purposely have offended you. No, I'm kidding. So, with that, I guess, Patrick. I'll
Yes,
let you-
I am PJ on behalf of the Beard, reminding you no matter what you hear, you never have too much gear.